Chapter 1141, Fourth Step in Defying Natural Order, Eternal Supremo. I knew I'd cause a commotion when I break through, but I didn't expect it to be so great. Shocked, Jian Wushuang watched the aftermath of his breakthrough unfold from the palace atop the mountain. It was common for a person making a breakthrough to cause a commotion, but Jian Wushuang's was on another scale. His majestic aura could cause even celestial masters to shudder, not to mention mere Dao masters. Such an impact when I'm just a Dao master. Wonder what will happen when I become a celestial master or something more powerful. Jian Wushuang began to look forward to seeing such a scene in the future. He could also sense great changes taking place in his body as his aura completely transformed. The change was a kind of metamorphosis. His body, his bones, muscles, cells, and even breaths had undergone an innate metamorphosis. It feels so good. Jian Wushuang exclaimed in admiration. It was such a comfortable and relaxing process that he could not help submerging himself in. The metamorphosis lasted for nearly half a day until everything finally calmed down. His magnificent and valiant aura also gradually calmed down and the whole world was quiet again. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and slowly stood up. Just then, a cracking sound came from his body. He had obviously sat here for less than a day, but he felt as if he had stayed here for thousands of years or even longer. So, this is how it feels to be a Dao master. Jian Wushuang subconsciously looked down at his palm. He spread his fingers and made a fist. Crack! He crushed the space near his hand into smithereens and caused an explosion in the air. He could clearly feel how explosive his power was. I already have the sturdy body of a 3-star ancient god of imperial kinsman, but my body feels several times stronger now. In terms of spiritual power, I think I'm more than 10 times stronger. His eyes glinted with golden light. Undoubtedly, there was a large gap between an Eternal Realm expert and a Dao master. He was dozens of times stronger in terms of spiritual power alone. Being an inverse cultivator, it was natural for him to burst with spiritual power after becoming a Dao master. More importantly, he now commanded better control over his Daos and their power would naturally be stronger as well. This was particularly true for Jian Wushuang, who became a Dao master with the help of the strongest sword principle. If he unleashed the might of his Dao, he would be very formidable. Powerful. I feel so powerful. His eyes gleamed with delight. He had never felt this powerful in his entire life. He felt fearless enough to confront even a universe master. Hurry and check how you've changed after becoming a Dao master. Jiyu King urged. Right. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. Being both a practitioner of the heavenly creation skill and an inverse cultivator, his every step was in defiance of the natural order. Naturally, the outcome would be extraordinary as well. He would, of course, be different from ordinary warriors. When he was still in the external realm, he was equipped with the ability of an everlasting realm expert. He was strong enough to defy heavens. Now that he was a Dao master, the fourth step in defying the natural order of the heavenly creation skill, dubbed Eternal Supremathery, ought to be changes in him. Jian Wushuang began to carefully examine himself. Oh, what's this? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He detected a strange black flame in his sea of consciousness out of nowhere. It was faint, as if it might be snuffed at any minute. However, he could feel a special power coming from this flame. It was greatly similar to his consciousness. Is that soul fire? Jiyu King cried in a weird voice. Soul fire? Jian Wushuang asked in confusion. Impossible. That's impossible. Jiyu King's voice was frantic. You're a mere Dao master. How can you have soul fire? Impossible. That's absolutely impossible. When King Luozhen almost reached the topmost level of the eternal chaotic world, he finally managed to light his soul fire after making great efforts and paying a great cost. You're just a Dao master. You're far from being as powerful as King Luozhen. Why? Why can you light your soul fire? Jian Wushuang became speechless from amazement. He knew little about fire of soul, but judging from Jiyu King's reaction, it must be something extraordinary. Inverse cultivation is truly a monstrosity. Considering how monstrous it is, no wonder heavenly laws disallow it. Jiyu King continued to be in shock for a long time before he finally calmed down. However, his emotions remained complicated. Jiyu King, what's going on? What's soul fire? Jian Wushuang asked, finding it to be strange. Jiyu King was momentarily silent before he answered in a cold voice. Kid, you got lucky. What do you mean? Jian Wushuang asked curiously. Well, soul fire is evolved from your consciousness. I'm sure you're able to sense how the strange power in your soul fire is in complete harmony with your consciousness. Yes. Jian Wushuang gave a small nod. That's the soul power evolved from your consciousness, Jiyu King explained. You should be clear how strange and wondrous a person's consciousness can be. You can even call it illusory, for it can't take tangible form despite existing in one's mind. For example, your consciousness attack is immaterial. Basically, your consciousness isn't tangible. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded. One's consciousness, without a shape or size, could not be substantial. However, when a person becomes strong enough to a certain level, his consciousness will gradually take shape and finally evolve into a complete soul. Meanwhile, the power of consciousness will metamorphose into soul power. Soul power is far stronger than consciousness. It can be materialized into anything. Some top experts in the eternal chaotic world can turn their soul power into magic weapons for battles, form doppelgangers, or more. But that's an incredibly difficult skill. Is it that powerful? Jian Wushuang was astonished. Chapter 1142, Strength of Soul. Of course. Strength of soul is indeed a formidable force, said Jiyu King. It's versatile. It'll even become the focus of your cultivation once your levels are as high as those of King Luo Zhen or the founder of the Star Bloodline. Every expert is willing to try all means to improve his or her strength of soul. In the beginning, almost every expert is just barely able to ignite his or her fire of soul. At that time, it'll look like a tiny spark. With the advancing of your cultivation, it'll gradually grow strong and powerful. That said, it's extremely difficult to turn the tiny spark into a formidable force. In eternal chaotic world, almost every expert made an arduous effort to cultivate his or her consciousness, but most of them could not succeed in gaining this formidable strength of soul. However, you, a person who adapt an inverse cultivation method and have just become a Tao master, are able to ignite your fire of soul. That's incredible! Jiyu King exclaimed while thinking in astonishment. The probability of someone igniting his or her fire of soul is extremely low. How come this Jian Wushuang, a practitioner of inverse cultivation, could manage to do that when he reached just the 4th level of his cultivation? That's really enviable. I'm happy to hear you say so. Well, I'm lucky to ignite this fire of soul, but I really want to know what it can do for me right now, when I'm still far below the levels of King Luo Zhen. Asked Jian Wushuang. What it can do for you right now? It can help you a lot, way beyond your imagination, said Jiyu King. For example, in the past, if you wanted to make a thorough search of this battlefield in front of you, you could only rely on your Scarlet Eye secret skill, namely your eyes and your extremely weak psychic ability. However, now you can use your strength of soul to do that. Are you saying that I can use my strength of soul to search an area? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise and then quickly activated his strength of soul contained in his fire of soul. He found it easy to manipulate this strength of soul. It was just like controlling his consciousness. The next moment, he felt his strength of soul gradually spreading out, and in the meantime, he discovered that a detailed map of the battlefield somehow formed in his mind. All the details about his surroundings were depicted on this map, including those that he could never detect with just his eyes and psychic ability. For instance, with the help of his strength of soul, he suddenly found out that there was something special about a piece of red rock which he had come across before. Now he knew for sure that this piece of red rock contained very valuable minerals. Wow, I can see everything this clearly. Jian Wushuang exclaimed in amazement and wonder. Take it easy. There are more surprises ahead. Continue to spread out your strength of soul, said Jiyu King. Upon hearing Jiyu King's remarks, Jian Wushuang further diffused his strength of soul, trying to cover a larger area. The next moment, he got shocked. What? This strength of soul can extend to several million kilometers and it still keeps extending? Exclaimed Jian Wushuang. It can extend to 15 million kilometers, said Jiu King. Jian Wushuang widened his eyes in astonishment. A Tao master, no, even a holy master, is only able to see things at most 500,000 kilometers away with the help of his or her psychic ability. However, with the help of strength of soul, now I can see things 15 million kilometers away. That's amazing, thought Jian Wushuang. Now, Jian Wushuang, try your consciousness attack again, Jiu King said smilingly. A consciousness attack? Jian Wushuang asked surprisedly. He quickly activated his strength of soul again to display his mind-controlling secret skill. The next moment, his black-colored strength of soul rushed out into the air and cohered into a spine. Although it did not hit any target since he had not aimed at anything, he still noticed the remarkable ferocity and momentum in the spine. This consciousness attack fueled by his strength of soul was more than 10 times stronger than his regular consciousness attack. Jian Wushuang was stunned. Strength of soul is a multi-purpose miracle force, but now all you can do with your strength of soul is searching and attacking, since you've just ignited your fire of soul and your strength is still weak. When your strength of soul grows stronger, you'll find out more about it. Anyway, you really impress me by igniting your fire of soul as a Tao master. Remember to keep nourishing your soul in the future. When your cultivation levels are as high as those of King Luo Zhan, your strength of soul is definitely going to amaze the world, said Jiu King, solemnly. Jian Wushuang put a smile on his face upon hearing that. Although he was not sure what was going to happen in the future, he was really pleased with his recent progress. At least, his consciousness attack was much stronger than before. That meant the ferocity of his sheer shadow strike and even his battle strength would also be increased. I've made huge leaps in my cultivation by creating the strongest sword principle and becoming a Tao master. Considering my current powers, I'll definitely be able to summon a much stronger blaze quicksand realm. And now, I'm even bestowed with this amazing strength of soul. I've never imagined that I can be so powerful, Jian Wushuang thought while clenching his fists in excitement. Unfortunately, although I've reached the levels of a Tao master, I've not yet increased my ancient god power or mastered more advanced blood-killing plate armor secret skills other than the most elementary ones. Worse still, after reaching the 4th stage of my inverse cultivation, I'm no longer in eternal realm. That means I'm going to lose the ability to make my life everlasting. With this in mind, Jian Wushuang could not help but sigh. There were 3 stages of mastering blood-killing plate armor secret skills. By mastering only the stage 1 skills, Jian Wushuang had drastically increased his offensive power by 10 times. If he had mastered the stage 2 skills by now, his powers would have been further increased. Compared to that, leaving eternal real caused a more realistic problem to Jian Wushuang. He could no longer keep his life everlasting. In the past, he had been capable of incorporating his life core into all the cells in his body. As such, he had always been able to come back to life even if there was only 1 drop of his blood left in this world. However, he could not do that anymore after becoming a Tao master, since his life core was pushed out of his cells now. Fortunately, he became more resilient in physiological responses to recurrent damage. Well, my gains and losses seem to offset each other, but my current level of battle strength is several notches above my original level. With this in mind, he gradually calmed down. Before long he arrived at the Chilliwind Valley. Jian Wushuang stared in rapture at a seemingly bottomless sinkhole at the bottom of the valley. There must be a treasure lying at the bottom of the hole. Let me try my newly gained strength of soul. Maybe I'll be able to see the inside of the hole, he said as he started to diffuse his strength of soul. With a buzzing sound, his strength dived into the hole. After a moment, when his strength went several thousands kilometers down into the hole, he clearly felt that there was an extremely cold energy hindering the advancement of his strength. He worked up his strength of soul, his face becoming solemn from the exertion, but he only managed to push his strength another 500 kilometers forward. He frowned and said, "What a strange thing. My strength of soul seems to be blocked by something down there. There's indeed a treasure placed at the bottom of the Chilliwind Valley. It's extremely cold and has abundant yin energy. It's not surprising that it's able to stop your strength of soul from getting into the depths of the hole. After all, your reservoir of strength is still feeble," said Jiu King. Chapter 1143, Everything is ready. What a pity, sighed Jian Wushuang. Excited by his newly gained strength of soul, he had thought that it would have been easy for him to see the bottom of the Chiliwind Valley and had never expected his survey to be suddenly blocked by something more powerful than his strength. It seems that I can only wait until my levels of cultivation or my strength of soul get improved before getting here to check the situation in the hole again. Jian Wushuang sighed in his heart while shaking his head. He left this place and continued his journey on this battlefield. As a powerful Dao master now, Jian Wushuang was more confident about himself than before, but he still remained cautious during his journey. Soon, 8 years had passed. During these 8 years, he had never run into any expert from the Gold Kingdom or the Green Fire Palace. As such, none of his old acquaintances knew that he had already become a Dao master. One day, something unexpected happened. My young friend, Jian Wushuang. A man sent a message to him. Golden Axe, Holy Master. Jian Wushuang immediately recognized the man's voice and cordially greeted this venerated elder of the Green Fire Palace. I heard that you're exploring the battlefield alone? Asked Golden Axe, Holy Master. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded and replied. Is there anything I can do for you, Golden Axe, Holy Master? Yes. I'm also exploring the battlefield alone and get into some trouble now. I need 3 holy masters with great exceptional realm to help me out, but I found only one such expert by far. I've just heard that you're also on the battlefield, so I contact you, said Golden Axe, Holy Master. Oh, I see, Jian Wushuang said smilingly. As both of them were experts from the Green Fire Palace, it natural for Golden Axe, Holy Master to ask him for help on the battlefield. Moreover, what Golden Axe, Holy Master needed now was experts with great exceptional realm. As there were just a small number of experts with such high-level battle strength in the Green Fire Palace, it was not an easy job for even Golden Axe, Holy Master to find 3 of them on the battlefield. Jian Wushuang did not feel surprised that Golden Axe, Holy Master contacted him. For you, of course, I'll go to help you, but I don't know if I'll be in time for your rescue, said Jian Wushuang. Where are you now? Golden Axe, Holy Master asked casually. Here's my current location. Jian Wushuang shared his location with Golden Axe, Holy Master without hesitance. After getting Jian Wushuang's location, Golden Axe, Holy Master also sent his current location to Jian Wushuang. I'm here, far away from you. Even if you rush to me at full speed, it'll take you more than 100 years to get here. You can never make it in time, Golden Axe, Holy Master said while smiling bitterly. Wow, are we that far apart? Jian Wushuang exclaimed and then looked at the Golden Axe, Holy Master's location. He shook his head and added, I'm sorry, Golden Axe, Holy Master. I'm more than willing to help you out but unable to do so. That's all right. I'll contact the other experts with great exceptional realm to see if any of them can make it in time. With these words, Golden Axe, Holy Master was off the line. Jian Wushuang shrugged his shoulders and took his mind off this problem. After that, he continued his journey. He did not know that hundreds of millions of kilometers away, Golden Axe, Holy Master had already shared his location with the top-notch experts of the Jin Kingdom in a special way. I've done everything I can, and now, the next move rests with you, Qianhuan King, thought Golden Axe, Holy Master. In the meantime, 3 experts of the Jin Kingdom gathered together at their headquarters. One of them was a young man dressed in a black robe. He had a bony face and 2 piercing eyes. He was Qianyin King, who had once engaged Jian Wushuang in battle. As for the other 2, one was a beautiful and icy woman, and the other was a very tall and well-built man. The former was Qianhuan King and the latter was Golden Rock King. Both of them were among the top 9 kings of the Jin Kingdom. Axe has sent us the current location of Jian Wushuang. He's here. While saying this, Qianyin King took out a map and pointed his finger at a marked place on it. That region is quite far away from our headquarters. We need at least decades to get there, even if we travel at our full speed. Fortunately, it's near to a secret base under our control. That base is a special place. It has a space wormhole, said Qianhuan King, the beautiful and icy woman. Such being the case, we'd better waste no time staying here. Let's set off right now, said Golden Rock King. As such, the 3 kings set out, followed by quite a lot of holy masters of the Jin Kingdom. They quickly arrived at their secret base through the wormhole. After that, they spent a year traveling on foot before reaching the region where Jian Wushuang was. According to the message from Axe, Jian Wushuang was in this region a year ago. He must still be hanging around here, said Xianxia. Yes, if nothing else, he must be somewhere nearby. However, as this region is large, it won't be easy for us to find him, said Golden Rock King. No doubt it'll be troublesome for us to search for him, but we can figure out a way to attract him here into our trap, said Xianxia. Attract him into our trap? How can we do that? Xianxia and Golden Rock King asked simultaneously while turning their gaze toward Xianxia. That's easy, Xianxia said smilingly while lifting up one of her hands. On her palm stood a fascinating treasure which had already recognized her as its owner. It was a 7-story pagoda which was aquamarine in color. Xianxia activated her mental power to disconnect it from herself. Qianhuan, what are you doing? Both Xianxia and Golden Rock King were shocked upon seeing that, as they knew how important this treasure was to Xianxia. I've owned this 7 stars pagoda for years. It has already become a part of me. It'll remain under my control even if I disown it now, Xianxia said smilingly. Qianhuan, are you planning to use it to lure Jian Wushuang here? Asked Xianxia. Yes. He comes to this battlefield for treasures, so I deliberately disowned this 7 stars pagoda. I'll let this treasure emerge on the battlefield in an eye-catching way. If Jian Wushuang is still in this region, he'll come here right after he notices the emergence of the treasure, replied Xianxia. Great idea, so let's get started, said Golden Rock King. Xianxia nodded and then released her 7 stars pagoda, letting it fall toward the ground. Boom! In an instant, the treasure stood and grew on the battlefield, causing a large-scale impact on its surrounding environment. The impact was so great that it affected a radius of hundreds of millions of kilometers, shaking the heavens and the earth. Xianxia and her partners hid in this 7 stars pagoda, lying in wait for Jian Wushuang. Now everything is ready, all we need to do is to wait for Jian Wushuang to step into this trap, thought the kings, excitedly. Chapter 1144, 7 Stars Pagoda. The emergence of a treasure like 7 Stars Pagoda would naturally cause a huge impact on the surrounding environment, especially when Xianxia was deliberately enhancing its impact. As such, Jian Wushuang, who still remained in this region, immediately felt the impact the moment the treasure emerged. Wow, that's impressive. Is it caused by the emergence of a treasure? Jian Wushuang thought excitedly, his eyes brightened. As there were countless treasures that might pop out randomly on this battlefield, he thought that it was not surprising that he could come across some treasures that had just emerged. I have to hurry up, he said to himself and set off. Several days later, he discovered an aquamarine pagoda which had an aura of dominance. Standing in front of the pagoda, he exclaimed, "What a strong aura field! Only a chaos magic treasure can have such an aura. Yes, it must be a chaos magic treasure." Excitement flickered in his eyes. Yes, it's a chaos magic treasure and the kind with special powers. It's much more valuable than those chaos magic treasures which can only be used as weapons during a fight, Gu King observed. Wow, such a precious thing emerged, and I happen to be the first one who discovered it. What a coincidence, said Jian Wushuang, surprisedly. Did all the experts from the Green Fire Palace and the Jin Kingdom happen to wander in the other regions of the battlefield? Am I the only one here in this region right now? Well, probably, said Gu King. Jian Wushuang, go enter the pagoda. Maybe you'll be able to make it recognize you as its owner. Before entering the aquamarine pagoda, Jian Wushuang searched it with his strength of soul to make sure that everything was all right the moment he stepped into it. Xianxia, and Golden Rock King, who were hiding inside the pagoda, revealed sinister smiles on their faces. That brat is quite cautious. Fortunately, we chose to hide inside the pagoda. Protected by the pagoda, he'll never discover us, said Xianxia. Jian Wushuang has already been lured into our trap. You can go finish him off right now, Xianxia. Golden Rock King urged. Don't rush. Trust me, this brat won't be able to come out of the pagoda alive, Xianxia said while smiling confidently. Look, He has already fallen into my trap. Jian Wushuang found himself surrounded by numerous treasures upon entering this pagoda. He felt as if he had entered a large treasure vault. He glanced around and saw countless shelves filled with treasures. This place seemed to have just about every treasure he could wish for. More importantly, these treasures also appeared to be highly valuable. This one, a chaos magic treasure? Jian Wushuang thought in disbelief. Yes, it is, and it's not the only chaos magic treasure here. This place has 10 chaos magic treasures. And the bracelet over there, its aura field is much stronger than that of a chaos magic treasure. Is it a chaos divine treasure? Jian Wushuang looked at the treasures in this large house one by one. All of them were of high value, which made Jian Wushuang feel somewhat overwhelmed. He continued to look at those treasures and gasped in admiration from now and then. However, he did not look overjoyed, and his eyes were calm and unwavering. Faced with such a treasure vault filled with priceless treasures, an ordinary person would be extremely excited or ecstatically happy. Nevertheless, Jian Wushuang still managed to remain calm. Haha, a few chaos magic treasures would be enough, and the chaos divine treasure is really too much. Do you really believe that I'm such a fool? You're really naive enough to think that you can deceive me with such an illusion. With this in mind, Jian Wushuang sneered and then widely opened the red eye between his eyebrows, while diffusing his strength of soul. Swoosh! The next moment, the treasure vault shattered and disappeared. Jian Wushuang found himself standing on a glittering ground. Now he was on the bottom floor of 7 Stars Pagoda. When he looked up, he could see all the 6 floors above himself and a luminous aquamarine pearl at the top of the pagoda. That pearl was as large as an adult's head and giving off a strange glow. Jian Wushuang was standing on the bottom floor with his long sword on his back and a faint smile on his face. Upon seeing that, Qianhuan King's pupils constricted. This brat has seen through the illusion I've created in my 7 Stars Pagoda. Well, he's really something, said Qianhuan King. What happened? Qianhuan King, Qianying King, and Golden Rock King looked at her and asked. It's just a little accident, Qianhuan King replied plainly. That brat must have mastered some special secret skill, which enables him to see through the illusion I created. With these words, she cast a glance at the red eye located between Jian Wushuang's eyebrows. She believed it to be the reason for Jian Wushuang being able to smash the illusion she had created. The illusion is gone, but it's not a big deal. I'll crush him with a fierce consciousness attack, said Qianhuan King. She launched the second round of attacks on Jian Wushuang while looking coldly at him. The luminous aquamarine pearl began to spin and then shot out a beam of aquamarine light at Jian Wushuang. At the bottom floor of 7 Stars Pagoda, Jian Wushuang quickly noticed that a beam of light was dashing toward him at an amazingly high speed, but he did not dodge, since he knew that it was impossible to escape from the light. He stayed in the same place until the beam of aquamarine light hit him. Boom! It turned out to be a formidable consciousness attack. With great ferocity and destructive powers, this consciousness attack was far more intense than all the previous ones that Jian Wushuang had suffered. It was strong enough to destroy a person's consciousness. Even Jian Wushuang himself could not do that. He was only able to use his consciousness attacks to make his target lose his or her mind temporarily. Someone wants to annihilate my consciousness with this beam of aquamarine light, thought Jian Wushuang. Humph! He snorted, his countenance grew grim, and then he suddenly lifted up his head to stare at the luminous aquamarine pearl. What? Qianhuan King exclaimed in astonishment. I've used 7 Stars Pagoda's powers to launch this consciousness attack. No one below the levels of a universe master is able to resist it. However, this brat fended it off. Why? Qianhuan King thought in disbelief. She had thought that it would have been just a piece of cake for her to kill this Jian Wushuang before. However, now Jian Wushuang was still alive and well even when he was trapped in her 7 Stars Pagoda and had suffered 2 rounds of attacks from her. Humph, I don't believe it. No matter how strong you are, you're now trapped in my 7 Stars Pagoda and completely under my control. Even if I can't kill you with a consciousness attack, I can directly crush you with my powers here. With this in mind, Qianhuan King groaned and swished her hands. Suddenly, the entire 7 Stars Pagoda began to shake. Jian Wushuang saw two dreadful forces become solid in the void in front of himself. They looked like two giant hands, and these two hands obviously intended to trap and crumble him. Chapter 1145. Three Universe Masters. You want to suppress me? Jian Wushuang sneered and then swished one of his hands to summon a golden gourd. He pulled out its plug to release blaze quicksand. Soon enough, his blaze quicksand turned into a violent storm, ripping the two giant hands into pieces. Even 7 Stars Pagoda started shivering under the impact of the storm. How did he do that? Qianhuan King thought in astonishment. What treasure does he hold in his hand? Even my 7 Stars Pagoda can't withstand its attack. Alas, I can't take it anymore. If this storm continues, my pagoda will be destroyed. With this in mind, Qianhuan King became increasingly pale. She quickly waved her hands to open the gates of the pagoda. The blaze quicksand rushed out of the pagoda, so did Jian Wushuang. Shoo! Jian Wushuang revealed himself in the void, surrounded by quite a lot of remaining blaze quicksand. 3 experts popped out in front of him, coming with amazing auras. This aura is... Jian Wushuang looked at them with a frown. One of them must be Qianyin King, but who are the other two? Their auras are as strong as, no, slightly stronger than that of Qianyin King. Wait a minute, the two are Universe Masters. No, all the 3 of them are Universe Masters. Thought Jian Wushuang. It seems that the Jin Kingdom really takes me seriously. It even sends 3 Universe Masters to ambush me. Jian Wushuang said smilingly. You brat, did you discover us in the pagoda in the very beginning? Qianhuan King asked while looking coldly at Jian Wushuang. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded and replied without hesitation. Before entering 7 Stars Pagoda, he had believed it to be a newly emerged treasure instead of a trap. He had even been looking forward to getting the pagoda to recognize him as its owner. However, upon entering this place, his strength of soul quickly detected that there were 3 experts hiding inside this pagoda. As such, he realized that he had stepped into a trap set by his enemies from the Jin Kingdom. He was not afraid after knowing that it was a trap, since now he was much stronger than before. Jian Wushuang, your aura gets stronger. If I guess correctly, you've already reached the levels of a Dao Master, haven't you? Qianyin King looked at Jian Wushuang and asked. He had engaged Jian Wushuang in battle before and thus knew this young man better than the other 2 Universe Masters did. The last time Qianyin King had met with Jian Wushuang, he could tell from the young man's aura that he still remained at the level of Eternal Realm. But now Jian Wushuang's aura was exceptionally strong and it appeared even more powerful than that of an ordinary Holy Master. Yes, I have. It's just a sheer fluke, Jian Wushuang replied smilingly. You're a Dao Master now. No wonder you could stay calm and collected after realizing that the pagoda was a trap. Qianyin King squinted his eyes and said. But even if you're Dao Master now, faced with us, you're dead. I'm dead. I don't think so. Jian Wushuang sneered. Qianyin King, why bother talking so much with him? Just go ahead and finish him off. If you guys are not ready, I'll go first. With these words, Golden Rock King, who was obviously the most impatient person among the 3 Universe Masters, came at Jian Wushuang, a giant axe in each of his hands. His arm muscles bulged so much that blue veins stood out on them. He poked through the void and dashed toward Jian Wushuang with amazing speed and ferocity. Even a Holy Master would shudder with fear in the face of such a combative Universe Master. However, Jian Wushuang got somewhat bloodthirsty and even smiled upon seeing that. The next moment, Jiyu King said to him, Jian Wushuang, the levels of these 3 Universe Masters in front of you aren't very high. With your current powers, you can defeat any one of them in an one-on-one fight, but you can't take on 3 Universe Masters at once. Fortunately, you have Blaze Quicksand Gourd. Once you summon Blaze Quicksand Realm, they won't be able to resist it. At that time, you can stay or leave as you wish. I know, said Jian Wushuang. However, this fight has just begun. I don't plan to use my Blaze Quicksand Gourd prematurely. He had his own plan. He had just become a Dao Master and experienced a surge in his powers. He had been looking forward to fighting against some well-matched opponents to see how great his new powers were. For him, These 3 kings from the Jin Kingdom came just in time. He would have never wanted to miss such a wonderful opportunity. Well, I'll play with them for some time before leaving this place with the help of my blaze quicksand gourd. But just in case, I need to report this incident to my palace masters. With these words, he sent a message to his palace masters. After that, he summoned his Blood Mountain sword and confronted Golden Rock King. "You brat, you're dead," Golden Rock King shouted, as he struck a giant axe at Jian Wushuang with shocking ferocity. The axe had already been expanded to more than 3 meters long and was now enveloped in clouds which were blood-red in color. Boom-loud friction sound could be heard as the axe cracked through the void. It sounded as if even the heavens and the earth could not withstand the impact. Jian Wushuang still looked calm. Since reaching the levels of a Dao master, his strength had been significantly upgraded. At this moment, the ancient god power inside his body was surging wildly, so was his spiritual power. His powers would vent out at any minute. Heaven's Bane. Jian Wushuang shouted out the name of his move, a strong killing intent flickered in his eyes. The next moment, a dazzling beam of intense sword light was shot out. Heaven's Bane was the most powerful offensive skill amongst all the techniques of his swordplay of coalescence. As its name implied, Heaven's Bane could shake the sky so much so that it would look as if it were about to shatter into pieces at any minute. Before the dreadful sword light hit the ground had begun to shatter. A crack as long as several thousand kilometers could be seen below the sword light now. Is he serious? He's just become a Dao master and he dares to butt heads with Golden Rock King? Is he that eager to die? Qianhuan King and Qianying King were stunned upon seeing Jian Wushuang's reaction. They stayed near to Golden Rock King, but none of them felt it necessary to join the fight to help their partner at this moment. Boom! Jian Wushuang's sword essence suddenly turned into a shower of swords raining down on his enemy and poking numerous black holes in the void. Jian Wushuang shook his body and then darted toward Golden Rock King like a bullet. He slammed into the king, causing him to retreat a dozen steps from his original place. For every step he took, he stamped on a piece of the void, smashing it into pieces. "Ha ha, come at me again." Jian Wushuang's laughter resounded in the void, and before his enemies realizing what had happened, he appeared in front of them again, calm and steady. The moment he took a firm stand in the void, he readied himself to launch the second round of attacks. He rushed toward Golden Rock King again with an amazing aura. His aura was as strong as before, which meant that he did not get hurt at all during his previous clash with the Universe Master. Chapter 1146, A Fierce Battle. Buzz! Jian Wushuang brandished his Blood Mountain sword again, sending out a beam of sword light. It cracked through the void and quickly expanded into a shining sword river. He approached Golden Rock King and launched an all-out attack on the latter. His eyes brightened with excitement. Beams after beams of sword light were shot out toward Golden Rock King with amazing speed and ferocity. "You want to play hard? So let's play hard," shouted Golden Rock King. He wielded the pair of giant axes in his hands and gave full play to his powers, his eyes filled with anger. Swoosh! 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 Axe shadows full of great vigor darted toward Jian Wushuang without a break. Soon enough, they clashed with Jian Wushuang's sword light. This fierce battle between Jian Wushuang and Golden Rock King dragged the surrounding space into an apocalypse-like state of chaos. Harsh, disagreeable combination of sounds reverberated across the battlefield. "This brat!" Golden Rock King watched Jian Wushuang malevolently, but meanwhile, he could not help feeling astonished deep inside his heart. He was astounded at the performance of this young man. He had never expected the youth to have such a great battle strength. As far as he knew, Jian Wushuang had displayed his powers during the battle in the Loyalty Palace not long ago, and at that time, his powers had been barely comparable to those of a holy master with top-notch exceptional realm. He counted the years and found out that only a few decades had passed since the battle in the Loyalty Palace. As such, he felt even puzzled about the current situation. He was a powerful universe master and well known for his battle strength. However, even he could not defeat Jian Wushuang in a short time in a stand-up fight. What surprised him even more was Jian Wushuang's self-protection ability. Why does Jian Wushuang look absolutely uninfluenced after so many head-on collisions? Every time I exerted a forward force on an axe shadow, it exerted an equal and opposite force on me. Such forces sapped my battle strength and even slightly hurt me. How come he seems immune to such forces? Thought Golden Rock King, his gaze fixed upon Jian Wushuang. Since the beginning of this fierce battle, Jian Wushuang's sword light and Golden Rock King's axe shadows had clashed head-on for more than 100 times. Nevertheless, Jian Wushuang was still alive and kicking. He even looked more combative and energetic than before. Chenying King and Qianhuan King, who had been standing by and watching the fight all this while, remained silent, but their gaze turned harsh. Now I see why that person ordered the three of us to deal with this Jian Wushuang. He has been making fast progress all this while, Qianhuan King said in a low voice. I used to engage him in battle outside the Loyalty Palace. Back then, I severely wounded him by giving him just one whiplash, and he didn't have any energy left to struggle, not mention to counterattack after getting the blow. If Sunrise Sword Emperor hadn't come to his rescue in time, I would have killed him. However, now, he's much stronger than before. Even I would feel a lack of confidence in facing off against him, said Chenying King, his hands clenched into tight fists. Fortunately, we've come here in time. He has not yet become a holy master. If he does, maybe only our monarch is able to compete with him, said Qianhuan King. Anyway, he's dead today, Chenying King said with a murderous look on his face and then summoned his black long whip. Golden Rock King, I'm coming to help you. With these words, he dashed toward at incredibly high speed, looking like a fleeting phantom. Upon seeing Chenying King coming to join the fight, Golden Rock King frowned but did not say anything. Another one? Jian Wushuang exclaimed, his face solemn. Shoo! Chenying King flung his whip forward. The black whip, which looked like a big python, somehow penetrated the void and then appeared straight in front of Jian Wushuang. That's fast! Jian Wushuang exclaimed in his heart, while brandishing his Blood Mountain sword to fend it off. After he stabbed the tip of his sword into the most vulnerable place of the big python, the python quickly withdrew. He could easily spot my most vulnerable point and fend off my attack. He does have superb sword skills, said Chenying King. He did not know that it was Jian Wushuang who had created the strongest set of swordplay technique swordplay of coalescence. He was so versed in the art of the sword and had mastered nearly all kinds of sword skills. That was why Chenying King could never compete with him in this aspect. Now, it's my turn. Golden Rock King shouted loudly and then suddenly squatted. Fueled by a sharp killing intent, he lifted his giant axes up above his head. A seemingly boundless axe shadow gradually came into being over his head and covered almost the entire sky. The whole world dimmed dramatically the moment the axe shadow was formed. Now, this axe shadow was the focus of everyone's attention. It quickly fell toward Jian Wushuang as Golden Rock King swung his axe toward the youth. This axe shadow. The color of Jian Wushuang's face slightly changed, as he could clearly detect the dreadful energy contained in this falling axe shadow. He had exchanged many moves with Golden Rock King by far, but the latter had never used such a technique before. In the face of such a formidable axe shadow, Jian Wushuang intuitively wanted to fend off the attack with his sword. However, before he could manage to do that, he was attacked by an invisible force. He felt as if he had been stabbed in the head by a sharp needle coated with a deadly poison. Is this a consciousness attack? And an exceptionally ferocious one? Jian Wushuang thought with a glum face. Nevertheless, he still managed to brandish his Blood Mountain sword the next moment. Boom! The explosion blasted a large pothole in the void. Jian Wushuang flew out from the center of the pothole like a bullet and then bumped into a distant mountain which was tall and rugged. The next moment, the mountain exploded and Jian Wushuang flew out again. He stood in the void, excitedly looking at the three universe masters. Qianhuan King, Golden Rock King and Chenying King stood side by side, looking stunned and somewhat gloomy. That axe shadow is the strongest one that I can summon. How come he survived it without a scratch? And how did he manage to take it after taking your consciousness attack, Qianhuan King? Golden Rock King voiced his doubts first. I also launched the consciousness attack with all my strength just now. Why did it have no influence on him? It even didn't delay his movements. Qianhuan King exclaimed in surprise. Back in 7 Stars Pagoda, Jian Wuxiang had managed to fend off her consciousness attack and crack the illusion she had created. Now, her strongest consciousness attack failed to influence Jian Wuxiang once again. How long has he lived? Why does he have such a potent consciousness? Qianhuan King exclaimed in astonishment. This brat is not weak, and we must go all out to kill him. If we let him survive, he'll become a nightmare for the Jin Kingdom in the future, Qianyin King said in a deep voice. Chapter 1147. Going All Out. Let's go all out, Qianhuan King and Golden Rock King said while nodding solemnly. I'll go first, and you two will make sneak attacks against him once you get a chance. With these words, Qianyin King rushed rapidly forward like a fleeting phantom. As he moved forward, he somehow split into 10 Qianyin Kings. Jian Wuxiang immediately opened his scarlet eye and used his strength of soul to detect these 10 Qianyin Kings. The next moment, his countenance became grim, as he exclaimed in his heart, "What? They're real bodies instead of illusionary ones?" His scarlet eye secret skill enabled him to tell illusionary things from real ones, but he failed to find any defect in the 10 Qianyin Kings. That meant all of them were the Universe Master's real bodies. Each of the 10 Qianyin Kings held a long black whip in hand, which looked like a big python. They surrounded Jian Wuxiang and then attacked him simultaneously. Swoosh, 10 black long whips were flung toward him at the same time. They looked like 10 big flying pythons, rushing toward him and planning to wrap themselves around him. Soon enough, they besieged Jian Wuxiang. He saw them blot out the sky and cover up the earth in an instant, leaving no gap for him to escape. What an amazing technique! Jian Wuxiang exclaimed in his heart. Qianyin King might not be able to compete with Golden Rock King in terms of battle strength, but he was clearly much faster and nimbler than the latter. He was particularly adept at trapping his opponent. Even a Universe Master could hardly escape from his grasp. However, the fact that a Universe Master was unable to get rid of those whips did not necessarily mean that Jian Wuxiang could not do that. Go! Blaze Quicksand! Jian Wuxiang growled and released his Blaze Quicksand. In a split second, a violent storm of sand and green flames arose and expanded, tearing the black big pythons into pieces. After smashing the big pythons to pieces, the Blaze Quicksand rushed toward the 10 Qianyin Kings. Humph! Jian Wuxiang snorted. The next moment, one of the 10 Qianyin Kings gave a grunt and ran toward Golden Rock King and Qianhuan King in panic, as the other 9 kings suddenly dispersed. FCK, what treasure does he have? Qianyin King blurted out while keeping a straight face and staring at the Blaze Quicksand around Jian Wuxiang. It must be a treasure which can summon some kind of realm, Golden Rock King said with a frown. Qianhuan King, I'll use my blood-deadly longbow to distract him, and you can use your killing move to finish him off once you get a chance. Got it. Qianhuan King nodded solemnly and said. Golden Rock King snorted with contempt and then summoned a fierce-looking red longbow. It stood as tall as an adult and looked very aggressive. What's that? Jian Wuxiang's face slightly changed, as the red longbow's aura seemed quite dangerous. Jian Wuxiang, I think that longbow is a blood-deadly longbow. It's a chaos magic treasure, and its fame has spread far and wide in the eternal chaotic world. The most powerful people in that world, who recruited experts for their armies, would only equip their most elite soldiers with such longbows. It's a powerful weapon. Be careful, said Jiyu King. Upon hearing that, Jian Wuxiang stepped up his vigilance, his pupils constricted. In the meantime, Golden Rock King put one foot back on the void and then shifted his weight to this back leg. He channeled nearly all his powers into his arms but was only able to slightly pull back the string of the bow. What? Jiyu King could not help scoffing at the Universe Master, while thinking, is that all he can do? He only managed to slightly draw the string back. It seems that his powers aren't enough to fully activate this blood-deadly longbow. The next moment, Golden Rock King released the string. Shoo! A flowing red light instantly pierced through the void and flew toward Jian Wuxiang. Even though Golden Rock King was unable to bring the longbow's powers into full play, the flowing red light it shot out still looked extremely aggressive and ferocious. More importantly, it was amazingly fast. It seemed to have approached Jian Wuxiang in a split second. It was so fast that he did not even have time to consider what kind of sword technique he should use to fend it off. As such, he simply lifted up his Blood Mountain sword to block it. Clang! It sounded as if two metal things had clanged together. Jian Wushuang gave a choked cry after being pushed backward by the strong impact. Did he block it? Golden Rock King's face changed. The next moment, his killing intent skyrocketed. I'll shoot at him again. He pulled his string back once again, albeit slightly. A flowing red light was shot out again. Again? Jian Wushuang mocked inside his heart with a faint curl to his lips. The moment Golden Rock King drew the longbow, he swished his hand to summon a sandstorm for protection. The flowing light easily pierced through the void but weakened by the gusts of wind as it flew toward Jian Wushuang. When it finally approached him, he easily fended it off by brandishing his Blood Mountain sword. What? Golden Rock King exclaimed in surprise. What else can you do? Come on. Show me, Jian Wushuang said smilingly. Whoosh! Someone suddenly appeared beside Jian Wushuang. What? Jian Wushuang shifted his gaze to the person. It was Qianhuan King, the beautiful and icy woman. She calmly stood there, with a mysterious gem in her hand. There was clearly something weird about the aura of the gem. Is it Soul Gem? Jiyu King suddenly said. Soul Gem? What's that? Jian Wushuang asked. Soul Gem is used to store strength of soul. It's very precious, Jiyu King said and then exclaimed, this battlefield is amazing. It's like a giant treasure house. In the eternal chaotic world, universe masters, except the top-notch ones, could never own such types of chaos magic treasures. However, these three universe masters from the Jin Kingdom have already taken out quite a few chaos magic treasures by far. The seven-story tower, Qianyin King's long whip and that blood-deadly longbow are all precious chaos magic treasure, especially the tower and the bow, and now this soul gem. It's even more priceless. Tut-tut, what a wealthy kingdom. They would make the universe masters and experts at even higher levels in eternal chaotic world envious. It's incredible that these universe masters from the Jin Kingdom have so many treasures. As for your Green Fire Palace, you guys have dominated this battlefield for a much longer time than they did. You must have uncovered even more treasures here. No wonder the 5 palace masters didn't care much about Blaze Quicksand Gourd. Chapter 1148, That Person. After hearing Jiyu King's words, Jian Wushuang was speechless with amazement. Even the Jin Kingdom could manage to accumulate so many treasures. The Green Fire Palace must have uncovered a surprising amount of treasures here. As for the most precious ones, they must be in the hands of the 5 palace masters. Thought Jian Wushuang. Let's drop the subject now, Jiyu King. Tell me the use of this soul gem, said Jian Wushuang. It stores strength of soul, and her soul gem clearly still contains some strength of soul inside itself. She can use her consciousness to channel the strength out to launch an attack on you. Jian Wushuang, this is an attack fueled by strength of soul. You have to be careful, said Jiyu King. So this is a soul attack? Jian Wushuang's pupils constricted, but he did not look frightened. Go die, Jian Wushuang, Qianhuan King shouted in a loud deep voice. In the meantime, the strength of soul flowed out of her soul gem, formed a spine and then rushed toward Jian Wushuang. What an idiot. It's really stupid to use strength of soul in this way, Jiyu King observed. Jian Wushuang, you don't need to do anything to fend off this soul attack, because it can never hurt you. Oh. Jian Wushuang had intended to use his own strength of soul to fend it off before, but now he gave up that plan and let the spine hit him directly. The next moment, he stood in the void, his eyes slightly closed. Is he dead? Someone asked. Qianhuan King did not reply. Instead, she fixed her gaze upon Jian Wushuang, her face extremely pale. As she herself had not yet acquired any strength of soul, she found it really painful to control such an advanced strength with her consciousness and barely managed to launch the soul attack. After a while, she said, I've used my soul gem to launch an attack on him. This is soul attack. It's far more powerful than a regular consciousness attack. Even a universe master can't withstand it, let alone a Dao master. He must be. She was stunned before she finished her sentence. In the void in front of her, Jian Wushuang reopened his eyes and winked mockingly at her. That's impossible. That's impossible. Qianhuan King screamed in disbelief. She did not know that Jian Wushuang, who adopted the method of inverse cultivation, was much stronger than an ordinary Dao master. More importantly, she had no idea that he had already ignited his fire of soul. Once someone ignited his or her fire of soul, he or she would be endowed with strength of soul. Under the guidance of Qianhuan King, the strength of soul stored in the soul gem could give a devastating blow to an ordinary universe master but could hardly affect Jian Wushuang, since he had already ignited his fire of soul. After enduring the attack, he was still alive and well. However, he did not have much energy left after enduring so many attacks. He decided to escape from the clutches of the three kings. Well, I've seen what you can do, universe masters, so please allow me to excuse myself now, Jian Wushuang said smilingly to the three kings and then turned around, ready to take his departure. You want to escape? No way! Golden Rock King shouted while drawing his blood-deadly longbow. In the meantime, Qianhuan King and Qianning King also rushed toward him combatively. They were both impressed and threatened by Jian Wushuang. In their eyes, he possessed even stronger deterrence than Sunrise Sword Emperor did. They believed that Jian Wushuang was going to pose serious problems for the future of the Jin Kingdom and thus were determined to kill him here. After all, they probably would not get such a good chance to do so in the future. Jian Wushuang could not help but scoff at the three ferocious and determined kings while shaking his head. I decided to face off against you guys just because I wanted to try out my new powers during a real battle. But now, I wanted to leave. None of you are able to make me stay, said Jian Wushuang, his blaze quicksand beginning to form a violent storm again. Swoosh, the storm spread far and wide. In just a split second, the blaze quicksand covered a radius of hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Quicksand realm! Shouted Jian Wushuang. Buzz, the invisible powers of the realm took effect. Jian Wushuang had used blaze quicksand for protection during the previous fights but never summoned a real quicksand realm. Now, when this realm took effect, the three kings suddenly felt that some form of pressure was applied to them. They felt as if they had been dragged into mud or bound by shackles. They were unable to move as fast as before or give full play to their powers. Suddenly, they saw Jian Wushuang turn himself into a flowing light and flee away. Let's go! Let's chase after him! Golden Rock King roared, but no matter how hard he tried, he still fell further and further behind Jian Wushuang. DMN it! My speed is suppressed by this realm. I can't move any faster, Qianhuan King cursed in a deep voice. So is mine, but I can still manage to catch up with him, said Qianning King. Suppressed by Quicksand Realm, both Qianhuan King and Golden Rock King were left far behind by Jian Wushuang. Only Qianning King could keep up with the young man, as speed was always his forte. However, Qianning King could never stop Jian Wushuang on his own. What can we do? What can we do now? Qianhuan King grumbled. There's nothing that we can do. Jian Wushuang's powers are way beyond our imagination. The three of us can never kill him. Now we can only leave him to that person, said Golden Rock King. That person? Qianhuan King and Qianning King were somewhat stunned. These three kings were not the only ones sent out by the Jin Kingdom to kill Jian Wushuang. There was another one deployed on this mission. That person was a secret weapon of the Jin Kingdom. They had planned to keep the existence of this person confidential unless it was absolutely necessary. However, they had no other choice now. I've sent a message to that person. As for whether he'll come to help us, it depends on himself, said Golden Rock King. In the center of the sandstorm, Jian Wushuang was rapidly rushing forward. Seeing the three kings behind himself, he could not help but scoffing at them. How are you, Jian Wushuang? Sunrise Sword Emperor sent him a message. At this moment, 3 of the 5 palace masters of the Green Fire Palace had gathered together in a hall of the palace. The other 2, who were currently on the battlefield, also transmitted their spectral images to the hall and attended the meeting through their powers of consciousness. All of them were nervous upon hearing that Jian Wushuang was ambushed by 3 kings of the Jin Kingdom. Beyond their expectations, Jian Wushuang replied, "Hello, palace masters. I've just engaged the 3 kings in battle. They've used every trick they know but still failed to kill me. They're still chasing after me right now, but I can shake them off with my blaze quicksand gourd. Chapter 1149. A Red-Haired Youth. The 5 palace masters were shocked when hearing Jian Wushuang describe the fight between the 3 kings and himself in a relaxed tone. "Are you saying that you've just engaged the 3 kings in battle?" Void Temple Master asked Jian Wushuang in disbelief. "Yes," Jian Wushuang nodded and replied. "And the 3 kings failed to kill you even when they worked together?" asked Void Temple Master. "Yes," Jian Wushuang nodded and replied again. "How is this possible?" All the 5 palace masters were astonished. All the 9 kings of the Jin Kingdom were powerful universe masters with formidable battle strength. Generally speaking, it was just a piece of cake for any one of them to kill a holy master with exceptional realm. When 3 kings worked together, only the most experienced palace masters of the Green Fire Palace, such as Samsara Temple Master and Void Temple Master, could manage to resist them. However, these 3 kings failed to kill Jian Wushuang. The 5 palace masters felt bewildered. "I've reached the levels of a Dao master," Jian Wushuang explained. "Even a Dao master can't be this powerful," Void Temple Master said with a frown. A moment later, he added, "Jian Wushuang, can you tell me how they look and what they're good at? I want to know who they are." "One of them is Qianxia King. I've fought against him before. As for the other 2, one is a woman versed in the use of consciousness attack, and the other is a man who uses large axes," Jian Wushuang said, and then described the 2 kings' looks to the palace masters. After hearing his description, the 5 palace masters quickly agreed on who the 2 kings were. The woman is Qianhuan King and the man is Golden Rock King. They and Qianxia King worked together to ambush you. Void Temple Master continued with a solemn face. Among the 3 kings, Golden Rock King is the most powerful one. Qianhuan King is the most crafty one and Qianxia King is the weakest in terms of physical strength. However, this Qianxia King is a tough fighter and he moves exceptionally fast. When working together, they can easily finish off an ordinary universe master. Upon hearing Void Temple Master's analysis, all the other 4 palace masters nodded in agreement. At the same time, they were impressed by Jian Wushuang's performance. Golden Rock King was good at attacking, Qianxia King was adept at trapping his enemy and Qianhuan King was expert in consciousness attacks. They did have the abilities to kill a universe master. Nevertheless, Jian Wushuang had forced them to go all out and managed to survive and escape their clutches. "It looks like that we've underestimated Jian Wushuang. Now that he's able to take on 3 kings from the Jin Kingdom at the same time, he must have powers similar to those of a universe master. He's just become a Dao master but is able to compete with us now. When he reaches the levels of a holy master," said Void Temple Master. Excitement flickered in his eyes. "Jian Wushuang, the Jin Kingdom must have noticed your potentials, that's why it wants you dead now. It just has underestimated your powers this time. It'll send some other experts to attack you again. Given this, you must return to Green Fire Palace after shaking off the 3 kings," Samsara Temple Master said solemnly. "Yes, Palace Master," Jian Wushuang nodded and replied. He was clear how much the Jin Kingdom wanted to kill him. After all, it had sent such a formidable team consisted of 3 kings to ambush him. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. "What?" Jian Wushuang looked forward, his face changed. He maintained his quicksand realm all this while and kept searching his surroundings with his strength of soul while moving forward. At this moment, he sensed that a person was standing in front of him. It was a red-haired youth. He stood there with a spear in hand, looking calm and cool. His aura seemed ordinary, but Jian Wushuang somehow felt overwhelmingly intimidated by him. Is he also a universe master from the Jin Kingdom? Jian Wushuang wondered nervously. Being ambushed by 3 kings from the Jin Kingdom felt unreal enough, and now another universe master from the Jin Kingdom popped out. He seems to have hidden in the shadows all this while. Compared to the other 3 universe masters, he looks even more powerful. Jian Wushuang, I can tell that this universe master before you is not an ordinary one. He's much more powerful than the 3 kings behind you. You have to be very careful, said Jiyu King. Upon hearing that, Jian Wushuang looked grave. At this moment, the red-haired youth in front of him was staring stonily at him while standing quietly in the void with a spear in his hand. This is really ridiculous. 3 universe masters failed to kill a Dao master. What a bunch of bums. Now, let me clean up this mess, said the youth, grumpily. He was also on the mission to kill Jian Wushuang. However, he just came to help the 3 kings in case some palace master of the Green Fire Palace suddenly came to Jian Wushuang's rescue. According to his original plan, if there was not such a palace master, he would never join the fight or even reveal himself. Beyond his expectations, it was not some top-notch expert from the Green Fire Palace but the powers of Jian Wushuang that forced him to come out. He had to join the fight to complete his mission when the 3 kings tried their best but still failed to kill Jian Wushuang. I'm going to expose myself by engaging Jian Wushuang in battle. By doing so, I won't be able to remain as a hidden trump card until the decisive battle against the Green Fire Palace begins. This can be bad for the Jin Kingdom, but I have to kill this incredibly talented youth now. Otherwise, he'll pose a serious threat to us in the future. I cannot give this brat any chance to survive and grow stronger. I must kill him now even if this will expose myself, thought the red-haired youth. He tightly gripped the long red spear in his hand and then turned himself into a flowing red light, dashing toward Jian Wushuang. Watch out, Jian Wushuang. Jiu King groaned. Jian Wushuang was fully alerted and fixed his gaze upon the flowing red light. When the light reached the edge of his blaze quicksand storm, he shouted, "Quicksand realm, drive him away." Jian Wushuang rendered full support to his quicksand realm and urged it to press down on the red-haired youth. Blaze quicksand roared and pressed on the red-haired youth. Violent storms quickly formed in front of him, blocking his way. However, the quicksand realm only managed to block him for a second. The next moment, he thrust his long spear forward, while shouting, "Cleave through the storm." Suddenly, it began to snow in the void which surrounded them, and the snowflakes looked as red as blood. The icy spear head dashed forward with remarkable speed and ferocity. Swoosh, it cut through the sandstorms. The next moment, he thrust his spear further into the storms to attack Jian Wushuang. Upon seeing the spear rapidly approaching, Jian Wushuang could only use his swordplay of coalescence to counterattack. He gave full play to the power of first move of the Heaven's Bane. Chapter 1150, Red Snow King. Bang! 2 formidable forces clashed, and the force of the red-haired youth quickly gained the upper hand. Jian Wushuang's Blood Mountain sword was forced slightly aside, and the long red spear continued to rush toward the chest of Jian Wushuang. Clang! It sounded like a clunk of metal smashing into metal when the spear hit Jian Wushuang's scarlet robe, which was actually his blood-killing plate armor. The robe absorbed 90% of the spear's energy, but the remaining energy still spread into his body, causing considerable damage to him. He felt as if his insides had been set on fire and spouted out a mouthful of blood. How come he's so powerful? He cast a vigilant look at the red-haired youth. Before the spear hit him, its powers had been eroded by the quicksand realm and the sandstorms and then been counteracted by his first move of the Heaven's Bane. However, it still severely wounded him. Its power grew less and less as it approached him, but the level of its remaining powers still went beyond that of an all-out attack from an ordinary universe master. He must be a top-notch universe master. Run, Jian Wushuang. Run, Jiu King urged. Jian Wushuang was well aware that he was unable to compete with this red-haired youth. Therefore, the moment he managed to stand on his feet, he immediately activated his strength of soul and used his dragon blood secret skill to flee. Upon seeing that Jian Wushuang was still alive after withstanding the blow, the red-haired youth was quite surprised. When the young man started to flee, he snorted coldly and chased after him. While escaping, Jian Wushuang managed to contact the 5 palace masters. "Palace masters, I've just encountered another universe master from the Jin Kingdom. He's way more powerful than the 3 kings. I'm confident that I can shake off the kings, but I'm not sure if I can escape from him," said Jian Wushuang, hastily. "Another universe master? Are you saying that you're ambushed by 4 kings?" All the palace masters of the Green Fire Palace were startled. "Jian Wushuang, you're able to easily escape from Qianhuan King, Golden Rock King and Qianying King. Who else among the 9 kings of the Jin Kingdom is able to stop you?" Void Temple Master asked with a frown. "Yeah, who else? The 9 kings of the Jin Kingdom are of almost equal strength. None of them is exceptionally powerful. Tang Emperor echoed. Tell us more about this universe master. How does he look? What can he do? Asked Sunrise Sword Emperor. He's a red-haired youth, and his weapon is a long red spear. He's much more powerful than Golden Rock King, at least a dozen times stronger. He has severely wounded me with just one stab. Oh, when he wields his spear, there are red snowflakes falling down a red-haired universe master, who's a dozen times stronger than Golden Rock King. He uses a long spear, and when he wields it, there are red snowflakes. The 5 palace masters mused in silence. The next moment, Samsara Temple Master and Void Temple Master looked frantic simultaneously, and their pupils suddenly constricted. It's Red Snow King. It's him. Void Temple Master exclaimed in astonishment. What? Red Snow King? Tang Emperor, Sunrise Sword Emperor and Red Lotus turned pale with fright and asked in disbelief. How is it possible? Red Snow King was killed during the battle between the Jin Kingdom and us 5 million years ago. How come he's still alive? Void Temple Master spoke with a trembling voice. I can't believe that he's still alive. Samsara Temple Master exclaimed in a hard, cold voice. 5 million years ago, when experts of the Jin Kingdom had first come to this battlefield, they had more than 9 kings. Instead, there were 14 kings among them. This Red Snow King was the strongest one among the kings. Despite the fact that he was also a universe master, he was way more powerful than the other 13 kings. He was definitely a top-notch universe master. 5 million years ago, the Green Fire Palace had fought a last-ditch battle against experts from the Jin Kingdom and sacrificed a lot to kill Red Snow King on the battleground. However, no one else than Red Snow King could severely wound Jian Wushuang with just one stab, so this universe master with a long spear in hand must have been Red Snow King. Red Snow King is far stronger than an ordinary universe master. Among all experts in the Green Fire Palace, only Samsara Temple Master is able to resist him with the help of some treasures. The other palace masters can only escape when encountering him. Red Snow King is well known for his amazing speed and formidable offensive power. He's also on this mission to kill Jian Wushuang. This boy is really in danger, said Tang Emperor. Samsara, you're out on the battlefield right now. How long will it take for you to reach Jian Wushuang if you travel as fast as you can? Asked Void Temple Master. Yes, I'm on the battlefield but quite distant from his location. I guess I need at least several days to reach him, sighed Samsara Temple Master. Several days? The other 4 palace masters exclaimed simultaneously. The situation looked grim for them. Red Snow King was after Jian Wushuang at this moment. It would be lucky for the boy to resist him for a few hours, not to mention several days. Upon hearing the reply of Samsara Temple Master, Jian Wushuang, who was busy running away from Red Snow King, knew that he could only rely on himself now. Several days? He murmured to himself with a frown and then turned his head to look back. The next moment, his pupils constricted. Not far behind him, Red Snow King spread a pair of golden wings, which enabled him to move even faster than before. Suppressed by Jian Wushuang's quicksand realm, he still moved a little bit faster than the boy. Upon seeing that, Jian Wushuang made up his mind. Palace Masters, you don't need to worry about me anymore. I'll try my best to make the Jin Kingdom suffer. With these words, he halted the communication. The 5 palace masters of the Green Fire Palace were rendered speechless after hearing his words. They knew clearly what Jian Wushuang was going to do. As he could not escape from the grip of Red Snow King, he intended to face off against this mighty universe master and try his best to cause losses to the Jin Kingdom even at the cost of his own life. Alas! Tang Emperor sighed, feeling helpless. In the meantime, Jian Wushuang looked unprecedentedly determined on the battlefield.